following announcement has been paid for by the new Howl Order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, cover it all here. Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. Yesterday it was unofficial, but I told you that it would be official today. And earlier this morning, Ronald Rivera came out and announced that Jacoby Brissett would be the starter against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, he said that this was not a decision based on the rest of the season. They'll just see how it goes, I think is how he phrased it. Whatever. This is a culmination of a myriad of mistakes and a comedy of errors that were committed by this staff, by the front office, by so many people involved, including Sam himself, who ultimately was benched today. And I know a lot of you showed up yesterday expecting a double O about Sam Howell and NHO, and you didn't get one. I don't know if you guys were paying attention. Some of you, don't hear very well, but I didn't apologize for starting a campaign, for believing in Sam Howell. I still believe in Sam Howell. I still think he's going to be a good quarterback in this league. I just don't think it's going to happen here. And I guarantee you, if someone like Sean McVay gets their hands on Sam Howell, you'll see a totally different quarterback, or the guy that we saw for much of the year this year in the first 10 weeks. And you'll see a guy that has a chance to be wildly successful in this league and play for many, many years and be very, very good in this league. But unfortunately, we just didn't have the bandwidth here to handle this situation. And we botched it, which we've seen so many times, whether you're going all the way back to Robert Griffin III, going all the way back to Brad Johnson. We always botch quarterback situations here. We never get it right. Jason Campbell, Patrick Ramsey. I could go on and on and on about how many quarterbacks that we just absolutely effed up here in Washington. Kirk Cousins, we effed up that situation. Whether you thought he was good enough to get it done or not, he's the best thing we had in this town since Joe Theismann. Deal with it. But we effed that up too. Carson Wentz, we effed that up. Dwayne Haskins never should have been here in the first place, but we effed that up as well. I mean, we never get it right here. So it's not a surprise that yet again we effed up another young quarterback. I pray to God that the next one that we get doesn't have to be exposed to the foolishness of all the quarterbacks that I just named. And so many others, countless others, like Trent Green, who never saw the light of day here, who went on to flourish elsewhere. Hopefully, he doesn't meet the demise of those quarterbacks here in Washington and have to be exposed to the crap that those guys had to put up with as to see their careers not take off here in Washington, or not have a career like Heath Schuler at all in Washington, or in the league for that matter. Let's just hope that the next guy comes in here, because it's a new regime, because everything is fresh and new, that he is able to be shielded from the stench of what has gone on here for a quarter of a century plus. But yet another talented quarterback goes down the drain. And I hope Ronald Rivera loses by 100 points in the last two games combined, because the bastard is trying to win at a time. Hey, he could have kept this same energy last year when we had a chance to beat the Browns in week 17. When he decided, isn't it coincidental? Or isn't it a coincidence? Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's irony that in back-to-back years, this clown makes a quarterback change with 2 weeks left in the season. 2 years in a row. Maybe it's ironic that he does it. Last year, when we actually had a chance to make it to the playoffs. This year, when there's no chance in hell of us making the playoffs. Ronald wants one more win desperately on his way out. Well, you can't have it, sir. I hope Jacoby Brissett plays really well. All right. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for him and how he's handled this entire situation. And I got no beef with Jacoby Brissett. He's done nothing wrong in this situation. And I want him to play well. I want him to get a nice contract next year, wherever he ends up. And I hope he gets another chance to start in the league for that matter, right? I mean, he's been nothing but a great teammate. But Ronald Rivera had the audacity the audacity. I think it was Laura Oakman who was doing our game. I'm not sure who the sideline reporter was, but he told that sideline reporter that the Browns called him before the trade deadline to acquire Jacoby Brissett, and he told them, heck no, you can't have him. If we can't get this guy the hell out of here as quick as possible, that his head spins, I'm so over this whole regime and Ronald Rivera and his stupidity. And, you know, I almost feel bad because I had so much respect for him coming into this season. And even midway through this season, when things weren't going the way that I thought they should have been going, I still had respect, and I still was like, hey, you know, salute to service, right? We thank you for what you've done for us. We thank you for your service. And, you know, I got no ill will towards you. I just, you know, it just didn't work here. You got to go, right? That was my feeling about maybe 8 weeks ago. Hell, maybe even 6 weeks ago. Now, I almost have disdain for this man. Like, the sight of his face, you know, gets my blood boiling just a tad bit. I don't hate this man at all, okay? He tried his very best to do what he thought was the right thing to do here in Washington. The problem is his judgment has been flawed ever since he got here. To be honest with you, he's made a lot of bad decisions since he's gotten here, starting in 2020. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to blame the cancer or any of that stuff. And I hope that stays in remission for the rest of his life. But he came out of the gate making dumb decisions. With the whole not taking timeouts at the end of the games, not trying to get anybody hurt. Remember that whole stupid shit? Remember refusing to bench Dwayne in 2020 in that Panthers game until it was too late, bringing in Taylor Heineke when we could have won that game and salvaged that game against a bad, terrible Panthers football team? There were bad decisions in his first year here. A bunch of them. Remember the quiz they gave Dwayne in week 4 against the Ravens? Yeah, like he came in the gate doing dumb shit and we just ran through a bunch of stop signs. Or at least I did. I can't speak for anybody else. And those stupid ass decisions continued to persist throughout his career here. And I just turned the other cheek. And then he slapped me in the other cheek every single time. Well, I've had it. My cup hath overrunneth with Ronald Rivera mistakes and follies and gaffes and poor decisions. This season was doomed before it even started and we didn't even know it. Some of you did. Some of you predicted this. Some of you saw this coming a mile away. I didn't. And the lack of attention to detail on the offensive line, the lack of attention to detail with the draft, free agency was a mess, but that was to be expected because of the transition from Daniel Snyder to Josh Harris and that group. You knew the money just wasn't going to be there, but even the money that they spent wasn't money well spent. The decisions that they made there weren't good decisions. So even though you want to justify the foolishness that they did in free agency, you can't, because they still made moves and they were bad ones. They didn't benefit this team at all. The ignorance on the offensive line, ignoring the linebacker position, drafting backup players in early rounds. You can't draft backup players in day 2 of the draft. But they've done it 2 years in a row. They drafted Fedarian Mathis in the second round as a backup defensive tackle because they thought they were going to move on from Daron Payne. You can't do that. Not in the second round, you can't. You can't draft a backup center in the 3rd round of the NFL draft. You can't do that. You can't draft a backup safety in the 2nd round of the NFL draft. You can't do that. You can't draft a guy in the 4th round that isn't even good enough to make your roster. You can't do that. All of those things that I just said, they did that in one draft. This past year's draft. The behavior was negligent all the way. And it foreshadowed what was going to be a disastrous season. Full of mistakes, full of coaching blunders. But you know what? The writing was on the wall. And people like me who just want to win, who had tunnel vision, were too blind to see it. And so I'll say this, Sam, I'm sorry, man. On behalf of all of us who wanted to see you succeed, I'm sorry. You deserve better, man. And hopefully at some point you'll be free of this foolishness and you'll get an opportunity somewhere that will, nourish the talent that you do have. Move on from this narrative of, oh, he's a 5th round pick. There's a lot of clowns here who still stand on that hill, right? It's okay, dude. We know what you're capable of. We know you have flaws. We know that there were faults. There were things that you needed to clean up that were just going to be a part of who you are in your DNA and in your fiber. I watched Patrick Mahomes make stupid decision and turnover after stupid decision and turnover. It's part of his DNA. He's going to make a bunch of big plays. He's going to make a bunch of boneheaded decisions. Saw the MVP candidate, Brock Purdy, throw 4 picks. Saw Jalen Hurts throw a pick 6 where his guy slipped. Shit happens, right? I guess when you're a 5th round pick, you're not afforded the same liberties as everyone else. Look, I'm not saying that you've been perfect this year because you haven't been, Sam. And you've regressed. And I think mentally they got to you, man. They broke you mentally, my man. The constant banter back and forth about taking sacks, finding incompletions, not staying in the pocket too long, having better pocket awareness. It got to you. They broke you. You're not the same dude you were 6 weeks ago. But you know what? I don't know of many quarterbacks that would have been the same dude that they were 6 weeks ago behind this offensive line with this coaching staff being put in the positions that you were put in week after week after week. Little to no running game, no play action fake, no short passing game, no quick screens, no easy completions, no ways for you to get into a rhythm. Just drop back 5 to 7 yards and hope that guys run 18-yard routes at a rapid rate of speed with an offensive line that isn't going to protect, but you need them to protect you so you can push the football vertically down the field. Good luck with that. Let's try that 40 times, too, while we're at it. It was a hell of a game plan, man. One that was doomed from the start. You fought as long as you could. You fought the good fight. Unfortunately, as a wise woman once told me, all good things must come to an end. Unfortunately, this came to an end way too soon. Way sooner than many of us, me mostly, thought. But here we are. It wasn't meant to be. Well, that was fun while it lasted. We got 2 more weeks of this shit. Guys, gals, hang in there. Only 2 more weeks until this is all over with. I promise. Ronald Rivera has roughly 10 days left, I think. We can start the countdown now. Everybody's back at work today. We can start the countdown now. Only 1 more Wednesday after this one. And he'll be gone after that, right? He won't see 2 more Wednesdays after this one. It's next Wednesday, and then the next one, he'll already be packing his things. Or rather, he would have already packed his things and left. And turn the light off when you leave, too. Don't leave that shit on. Don't waste my electricity. Bum. See, he's got me out here name calling. I don't even roll like that. I apologize. That wasn't right. Let's just go to end of the news, man. Let's talk about, normally here we talk about, the injury report and, what was said at the podium. And I did listen to Jacoby Brissett speak today, and I like Jacoby a lot. But who gives a shit about any of that? Who cares about what Jacoby Brissett had to say? Who cares about the injury report for week 17? Who gives a shit? You know what we do care about? Let's talk about something we all care about. The Tankathon. This is some shit that we actually give a damn about. So let's talk about this. Okay, so with Washington's remarkable loss on Sunday, because they almost pulled off the most incredibly damaging win potentially in franchise history. We almost pulled that off on Sunday over the Jets, but luckily enough, cooler heads prevailed. And I said I had a conversation earlier, in the year with the football gods, and he said he was going to bless us. I didn't think he meant in this regard. I thought he actually was going to bless us with a 10-win season. But, sometimes your blessings come in different sizes, shapes, and forms, and you don't realize what it is until you get it. Sometimes you don't actually really understand it until you take a step back. Now I get it. Now I get the blessing. I didn't want Ronald Rivera here anymore. You didn't want him here anymore. We didn't need him here anymore. Winning 10 games would have meant Ronald would have probably been back. Jack would have been back. Eric Bieniemy would have been back. We didn't want that. Trust me. Trust me. We didn't want that. A lot of you tried to warn me. Hey, do yourself a favor. Move on from this clown now. Don't even subject yourself to another year of this shit. Well, the football guy said, hey, I know you can't see it right now, and this sucks, but I'm doing you a huge solid. You know what? Thanks. We appreciate it. Signed, Commanders fans. So here are the updated Tankathon results after 16 weeks of football. We just got 2 more weeks to go, and we just got to hang on for dear life. So here's the thing that is really scary, is that these strength of schedules fluctuate like nobody's business. I mean, Tennessee was at 5.4 or 0.544 last week. Like they're all the way down to 5.525. So these things fluctuate crazy. So no telling what's going to happen in terms of strength of schedule. Arizona's been pretty steady at that 5.6 range or 0.56, range. So they would have to lose and we'd get their spot. I don't think theirs is going to change that significantly because they continue to play teams that beat them like they just lost to Chicago, which strengthens their schedule, strengthens ours as well. So that's not a good thing necessarily, but they're going to play teams in their division. The Rams continue to win. The Niners are going to continue to win, even though they just lost. Seattle continues to win. So Arizona's strength of schedule is going to continue to be in that range. We're not going to catch them. Their schedule is way tougher than ours because their division is way better than ours. So just off the strength of that, we just need Arizona to win. But the problem is Arizona's probably not going to win another game. That's the big problem. It's the Cardinals. I don't remember who they're I don't really care, to be honest with you, because I don't see them winning. Chicago was their last chance to win a game. I think they got 2 divisional opponents left. Both of them are going to need that game. I don't see Arizona winning either one of those contests. They got Philadelphia this week. They're not beating the Eagles. And then they finish up with like the Seahawks or somebody like that. I don't see them winning that game. Seattle will need that game to get in the playoffs. So I just don't see Arizona winning another game. But you never know in this league, right? So you don't rule anything out. But we're not catching Carolina, even though they put up a hell of a fight. They were 3 points away from having this thing become really interesting. But we're not catching Carolina. So Chicago will own the #1 overall pick. And, they've got a decision to make because clearly Justin Fields is playing a lot better than any of us expected him to coming off of the injury. And they're winning football games. And it's giving them, a reason to consider holding on to him. So they got a hell of a decision to make in the offseason. We'll see what they decide to do. But the closer we get to one, the more interesting it becomes if this group is smitten with, say, Caleb Williams and wants to go and get him, right? The closer you get to one, the more likely it is you can make that trade. The further away you are, the more you'd have to give up, the less likely you would want to do it as a team in the position that we're in now. The #1 thing for the new GM coming in here is you want to find your quarterback. Like, that's the #1 thing. And if you got to give up things to get him, you do it. But you also have holes in this roster, things you need to accomplish from a roster standpoint. If you, again, I've said this a number of times, if you love more than one quarterback, then you don't have to make this move. If Caleb Williams is the only quarterback you love, then you do everything you can in your power to get him, because you need a quarterback. But if you don't love any of these quarterbacks, then you don't do anything here. You don't do anything. If the Bears say, no, we're taking him, and you don't love Drake May or Jaden Daniels, then you don't do anything, right? If the Bears say, oh, we're open for business, but you don't love Caleb Williams, then you don't do anything. The only way you trade up is if you love Caleb Williams, you don't love any of the other quarterbacks, and he's available. Then you got to go, and you got to do everything you can to get up there and get him. But if the Bears say, no, we're going to take him, we're not interested in trading one, then you got an issue in your hands, because say you do love just one more quarterback, and let's say that quarterback is Drake May, and you don't love Jaden Daniels or any of the other quarterbacks for that matter. Arizona's in a great position, just like Chicago's in a tremendous position. They are a team, and a lot of you are not looking at this from the right perspective. Arizona's in a great spot because they're going to end up with one of the best players in the draft, and they're going to fleece somebody to come up and get a quarterback, more likely than not. Understand their position. If they're rolling with Kyler Murray, which they are pretty much in a position where they can't afford to move on from him, so they're rolling with Kyler Murray whether they want to or not. Understand that the two teams right behind them, Washington and New England right now, and hell, even the Giants, if you want to throw them in the mix, all of them need quarterbacks. So what's stopping Arizona from saying, hey, I'm open for business, and this pick is going to the highest bidder? We're going to open the bidding at a first rounder and a second rounder this year, and you guys go from there. That's where the bidding starts. All right? Who's got a first? Who's got your first? Who's swapping first with me this year? Right? Giving me your second this year and a first next year. Who's doing that? That's where the bidding starts. A 1 and a 2. 1 next year, 2 this year. That's where the bidding starts. Do I have 1? Right? And Washington, New England, and the Giants all are going to have to fight if they really truly love Drake May. If you love Drake May and Jaden Daniels, if you're Washington, then you just stay at 3. Okay, cool. I'm not going to play your little game. We'll take whoever's left. We love them both. We're fine, right? But if you only love Drake May and you're like, yeah, Jaden Daniels is cool, but I'm good. Too many underthrown passes for me. Too many weird, wacky things that happened in the SEC last year. That wasn't actually good ball that I saw. Okay, then you got to go. You got to go get Drake May, because guess what? New England's going to try and go get Drake May. The Giants are going to try and go get Drake May. You can't sit there and wait. The Giants have, just like we have 2 second-round picks, so do the Giants. They traded away Leonard Williams. They got 2 second-round picks. Now, theirs isn't as high as ours is, but they still got 2 of them just like we do. They have the ammunition. And Arizona's like, yo, whether I trade back to 3 with Washington, 4 with New England, or 5 with the Giants, I'm either getting me an elite tackle or a wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., if he comes out. And a lot of you are assuming that he's coming out. That kid's already said, hey, I would like to beat the team up north, and I'd like to win a Big Ten championship. Haven't done that yet. I'd like to do that. He's making probably $3, $4, $5 million in school with NIL deals. He didn't have to come to the league. It's a different ball game now. So the shit's done changed. So for those of you thinking, oh, Arizona's not going to take a quarterback, so a quarterback's going to fall right in our lap. Bullshit. Arizona's going to mortgage this pick, fleece somebody, move back 2 or 3 spots. They're not moving back to 7, 8, 9 or nothing like that. They're going to move right here in this range with Washington, New England, and the Giants. All of us need quarterbacks. All 3 of them. Somebody's going to be desperate enough to jump Washington to get up here and get that quarterback who's not named Caleb Williams. Somebody's going to be desperate enough to make that move. So how bad do you want that next quarterback? How bad do you want Drake May? Or if it's Jaden Daniels, how bad do you want him? Because you can't know who the other teams that are behind you are coming up to get. So you can't wait. If you love Jaden Daniels, you can't say, well, he's number 3 on everybody's board, so the next guy coming off the board is definitely going to be Drake May. You can't wait and see if that happens. You got to go get him. But the beauty of it is you're at 3. And if you love all 3 of these quarterbacks, you're guaranteed to get one of them. Where you sit now, here's the issue. Shit can change. Okay, New England's strength of schedule could change just like that, right? And all of a sudden, they could leapfrog us and we could be back at 4. And now you're not guaranteed a damn thing. It is imperative that we find a way to stay in the top 3, because the top 3 guarantees you a shot at one of the 3 quarterbacks that we think have separated themselves from the rest of the crop of quarterbacks in this draft. Doesn't guarantee you a damn thing. Doesn't mean any of those quarterbacks are going to be any good. We've seen drafts turn out the way that the 2021 draft turned out, where it was Lawrence, it was Wilson, and Lance, 1, 2, 3. Only one of them turned out to be any good, and that was the guy that went number 1 overall. This could be the exact same situation. You just don't know. So just being in the top 3, having a shot at one of these quarterbacks doesn't guarantee you a damn thing. But remember what happened in that draft. Somebody came up into the top 3 to get their quarterback. Arizona's in a spot where they can trade out of 2 and let somebody come into the top 3 to get a quarterback. You may have to trade up from 3 to 2 just to get your QB. It's not ideal, and we really don't want to have to give up shit, but that's where we are. But just be thankful we're in the position that we're in right now. And the likelihood is with San Francisco and Dallas coming to town, this isn't going to change. This is not going to change. The only thing that is going to change is that strength of schedule. And adding San Francisco to our strength of schedule is going to, bolster it, obviously. You know what Dallas is doing. You know what Philly, you know what the teams that are already on the schedule and what they've done this season and what it is. And they're going to continue to win. We just got to hope the teams around us have the same thing going on. We got to hope that Miami somehow beats the Dolphins or the Ravens, right? We got to hope the Bills continue to win. That's what we got to hope to keep New England's strength of schedule going in the right direction. Probably not going to happen, though, right? We'll see. Here's what we can hope. New England beats the Jets in Week 18. That's all at this point, I'm like, New England, just get you one more, man. Get one for Belichick on the way out. Let's not even have to play this game. That'll keep us at 3 for sure. Because I don't think we're going to stay there if we just rely on strength of schedule. I think ours will end up being better than New England's. So, we got to sweat it out for 2 more weeks. We're not winning shit. The Jets was our last opportunity. You guys that said we weren't winning another game, you were right. All right, I'm not giving you a double O, but you were right. We're not winning another game. Dallas is going to need that Week 18 game for something. I can't say for what right now. The likelihood is they're not going to have a chance to win the division. I don't think anybody's going to, come from behind in the wild card and make it interesting. So the likelihood is they won't need it, but you just never know. We'll see. Right now, though, they would need Philadelphia to lose another game. And I just don't see the Eagles losing to the Cardinals or the Giants. But here's the thing. Just like last year, there was an opportunity for Dallas to, win in Week 18. And if the Eagles lost, they would win the division. That same proposition could be on the table. Dallas has a better conference record, if I'm not mistaken, than the Eagles, and they'll have the same divisional record because both will have swept the Giants, both would have swept Washington, and they would have split. So then it'll come down to the record against probably common opponents, and then the conference record. And Dallas may have the edge there. Who knows? I don't actually know the answer to that, but hopefully Dallas will have something to play for. That's all we can hope for, right? Last thing we need is for us to beat the Cowboys in Week 18 in a meaningless game and have us drop down to 5 or 6 or 7 or some bullshit like that. That'd be so fitting, right? I don't want to talk about it. Let's just move on to our first look at the 49ers. They're not going to let this shit slide. They got something to play for, right? So they're going to destroy us. They're pissed off. They just got beat up pretty badly at home by the Ravens and embarrassed. And Brock Purdy throws 4 interceptions. They throw 5 as a team. You know, and the defense gives up scores on 7 straight possessions. Yeah, they're pretty pissed off, and they're going to take it out on somebody. And you already know, in case you don't, you already know that Kyle Shanahan can't stand this organization. Even though the guys that he truly hates are no longer here, there's still a level of disdain for the Washington organization. Every time he comes here, he wants to win for his dad. And he recalls how he was treated, how his dad was treated, and he'll never forgive the organization. And so I'm pretty sure he's going to put a little extra sauce on this one. And if he's got a chance to beat us up by 50, he's going to do it. And he's not going to take his foot off the gas pedal. It could get really ugly. It could get really ugly on Sunday. I am fully prepared for a thorough ass whooping. A thorough ass whooping. The likes of which we haven't seen at home in quite some time. You probably got to go all the way back to dealer's choice, week 5 or week 3. I made it sound like I was going to go back maybe 12 or 13 years, right? 6 or 7 years ago. No, more like 8 or 9 weeks ago. Yeah. Dealer's choice. Pick one. There's the Bears game. There's the Bills game. You know, I mean, we can go on and on. We've been ass at home all season long. We've only won 1 home game this year. I mean, how pathetic have we been? Jesus, we've won 1 home game, and that was in week 1 to the 2nd worst team in the league this season. And we barely won that. What a joke this group has been. My goodness. All I ask is that the 49ers don't hurt anybody in the process of this ass whooping. In the commission of this felony that they're going to commit, just don't hurt anybody, okay? These are good guys. They have families. They'd like to enjoy their offseason. They don't want to spend it rehabbing. Don't hurt anybody, please. Keep it clean, okay? Let's go out here, dish out a sound beating, leave, and let's just not hurt anyone on the way out. Okay? Pride hurt? Sure. Fine. Whatever. Egos destroyed? Cool. Not going to hold that against you. Don't hurt anybody physically, though. Sound good? All right. Let's get out of here, man. I don't really have a lot, you know. On a day of mourning, you know, it was only fitting to wear the original NHO hat, dressed in all black like the Omen. Because I know Sam Howell can play. And he'll get an opportunity somewhere. It just, as I mentioned, won't be here. Because if you're drafting a guy in the top 5 of the NFL draft, that rookie is expected to start day 1. The days of developing a young quarterback and allowing him to sit on the bench as a first-round pick, specifically in the top 5, those days are over with. You might see a guy drafted outside of the top, 5 that goes in the first round, 12th overall, 3rd. You might see that guy get sat down and allowed to watch. But you go 1, you go 2, you go 3, you go 4, you go 5. No. We drafted you with that kind of pick because we expect you to play right now, right out of the packaging. Batteries and all assembly is included. So there is no competition next year. Sam won't get to be the bridge quarterback. He'll just be the backup quarterback next year. It's not like he's gone unless they decide to trade him. I already told you, if they end up with Drake May, how awkward. I mean, it'd be pretty cool that they're best friends, but how awkward is that, right? It's like they're back in college again, but the roles have been reversed. When they were in college, Sam was always the guy. Now it'll be the other way around. That could be a little weird, but it may also be really good for Drake. He's got his best buddy in there with him. They're studying together, you know. There won't be any hard feelings. It's not like Drake did anything to Sam. All he did was get drafted by the team that drafted Sam, and now it's a new regime, and this new regime doesn't believe in Sam, and now they believe in the guy that was his understudy at UNC. That's a little weird. Not going to lie to you. But as long as they're okay with it, nothing has to be done. If psychologically they determine that, hey, this is going to be weird and we don't want to put Drake in that position, then you got to do something with Sam. Don't want to just cut him. And that point, you probably try to trade him. Not going to get much for him. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We got 2 more weeks of this shit to deal with. Figure out where we are in the draft, and then we go from there, right? Oh, my God. I feel like the little Giants. Giants, help us. God, I feel like them right at the end. You know, Cowboys, win. Commanders, help us, God. Anyway, I digress. One last tidbit. We'll be live tonight for the NFC East Super Friends over on the Super Friends YouTube channel. However, there will be no L.B. With us. So we'll be running a cover 3 with Bad Dog, Law, and myself. We'll be talking plenty of shit about the Eagles, though. So you might want to be around for that, because we're going to kill their ass. I wish L.B. would have been there, because I had so much smoke for him. He conveniently missed this one. But that doesn't mean he's going to be absolved from getting his ass and his team getting their ass reamed. Pause. And I got some smoke for the Cowboys, too, because they talked a lot of shit as well. You know they're going to talk shit about Sam Howell, and I'm ready for all of that. You know, that doesn't faze me one bit, okay? But you know how that shit goes. I'm going to stand 10 toes down in my shit. You know, I talked a lot of shit before the season started, and, you know, I've spent the last 3 shows or whatever pretty much walking a lot of it back, because I already saw where this shit was going after we lost to the Giants, you know, in that, really the Bears game, but it was the first Giants game that was like really the beginning of the end for me. So, and we had a show like right after that, week 8, and I've been walking it back ever since. So I'll be continuing that, you know, but I'll be dishing out a lot more than I did last time. Anyway, I digress. You guys have a good one. Take care. See you next time.
Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone.